and welcome to the God is a Geek podcast, episode 555. I'm your host, Adam Cook, and I'm joined by one Chris Hyde. Hello, Chris.
Hello, all the fives.
All the fives, which actually has relevance to one of my favourite bands, but that's not for now. First of all, I have to introduce Lyle Pendle. Hello, Lyle, how are you?
Hello, is your favourite band Five?
No,
is that the band we're talking about?
Yeah, because that would be very relevant. Or Maroon 5?
Maroon 5, yeah, maybe.
It's a Jimmy Eat World song called 555.
Oh, okay.
It's not. I didn't
exciting.
say it was an interesting fact or exciting.
Oh.
It just.
I
is
like
a
the
fact.
idea of you really liking the band 5.
Yeah, I would like a Five mega fan, all about keep on moving,
Yeah.
slam dunk the funk,
Slam dunk the
all
funk.
the bangers.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm super glad you said that because I was just about to admit I don't think I can think of a Five song, and when you said it, of course, who was in Five? Was someone like did Five break out into solo artists? Did they?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah,
Like,
I don't think they became like
Justin-
4 and then 3.
Just
Sad
Timberlake, wasn't
lower
it?
numbers.
Well, when In Sync was Justin Timberlake, right? And
Yeah,
there was nothing like that
Justin
in Five. No,
Timberlake
like
from
the
NSYNC.
one more famous one that everyone.
No, take
Yeah.
that and Robbie.
Yeah. Or.
Probably loads of
17? Is Brian Harvey? Does that count? I don't know.
Boyzone and Ronan Keating.
Now that's a
Oh,
cracking
that's a good one. Yeah, nice.
This is
start
what
to a
we've been
game
talking
pod.
about.
He presents the one show, doesn't he? Sometimes I don't know. Anyway, we're here to talk about video games, of course. But it's going to be sort of a Nintendo heavy one, but also like it's. There's a lot of video games coming, most of which we can't talk about. So we thought we'd talk about a few that we can talk about, and if you are a regular listener, you'll know we were away for a little bit. So a few that we wanted to talk about but didn't because we weren't here. But we're going to start off with the hottest, the most newest of them, which is The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. Now, I got to preview this, play a preview build of this, must be about a month ago now, can't really remember, and I must admit, on the drive home, Sean and I, Sean Smith, who previewed it for God is a Geek, were blown away by it, and sort of for weeks, we sort of just text each other, just the phrase, Zelda though, because we just couldn't stop, it just was, when the game just really gets under your skin and you just can't, it was one of those, because it was such a fascinating, interesting thing, and so much more than I expected. And I don't think I said this at the time. I might have said it on the preview video, but there is a tendency at the moment with Nintendo games where people go in expecting it to be like, it's going to be good, but it won't be Tears of the Kingdom. It won't be Mario Odyssey. It won't, because we're near the end of the Switch generation, so that they're keeping their powder dry. And it was one of those where that's never bothered me. It's never gotten to me because I've liked most of them. But when I played the preview of this, I was like, oh no, it's nothing. It is not that at all. This is a more of a top tier Nintendo game than I expected, and now I've finished it.
You have, yeah.
Oh.
You did a review.
So what
and
are we
everything.
discussing second?
Nintendo World, it's really good. It is really good. I was a little bit surprised, just to get this out of the way early doors, to see some of those sort of frame pacing issues that Link's Awakening had. The remake of Link's Awakening, not the original.
Not the Game Boy original.
No. I was a little surprised to see those in this, but also, I know you can say it's obviously the same engine, same art style, but the biggest complaint I remember hearing about that was the frame rate issues when you're outside, and it's not. You do get used to it, and it's not like it's a first-person shooter where it's really invasive. But I found it more of a frame pacing than a frame rate thing, and it is a little distracting at first. It's totally gone when you're inside and stuff. It is mainly when you are exploring Hyrule, and that's the biggest thing about Echoes of Wisdom for me. This version of Hyrule, it's kind of weird because with Breath of the Wild, with Tears of the Kingdom, we've got to the point where there is a story to the Zelda games, but we've kind of got to the point where the star of the game has become Hyrule, or the mechanics that you can use in Hyrule. And that's why I feel like Echoes of Wisdom is kind of the next step, but the natural step, whether you want to call it forwards, backwards, sideways, but it's just a step. Because yes, you're playing as Zelda, which, by the way, sometimes when you're playing it, it almost feels weird because you're like, this is actually, I'm playing as Zelda in a game called The Legend of Zelda. It makes you think back to when a mate who wasn't that into gaming would go, oh yeah, that's Zelda, isn't it? No, it's Link. Yeah, but you're playing The Legend of Zelda. No, but it's Link. Do you know what? Don't worry about it. But it's the same sort of thing. Like, you can do that weird stuff like you can in Tears of the Kingdom. Like, you know, when you think back to the top-down Zeldas and you see those, I think they're oak trees, aren't they? I want to say they're oak trees. But the trees, the bushy trees, a bit Christmassy, you know.
Yeah.
They're just there. They're there to stop you going that way because they're
a wall.
They're basically
they're a wall. Yeah.
And in this, you can just like put 3 beds down to make a set of steps, and you're on top of all those trees, and those trees are now the ground, and you're just walking around on trees and jumping around. And I think that's really interesting and different and cool, to be honest with you. You know, you early on you get a trampoline, which I probably massively underused. And again, that's the same sort of principle. You can get up higher, where, you know, and also what this game is, it's not like vertical in the way that Tears of the Kingdom is. You know, you're not gonna go up in the sky and fly around. But what it does is it makes you feel like it's your adventure. In that way, you would see someone on any social media at the time of Tears of the Kingdom who's made usually a big willy. Let's face it.
Yeah.
That's coming at you with whirlwinding
Literally
penises.
coming at you.
Yeah. And you're like, I never thought of that. And then someone sat next to you is like, probably a good thing you didn't think of that.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like that thing where you go like, oh, like, there are puzzles in this that, having finished it, you know, a while ago now, days ago, I'm still like, I didn't do that right. The way I got through that bit of puzzle, that's not what it can't be what they intended. I'll say this much, if some of them, if it was what they intended, I don't know what they're on, because it's essentially what I ended up doing with some of them is, and this is a phrase I hope everyone knows what I mean by it, is Skyrimming up them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, there was so many of them where, you get up there, that's definitely not intended that you did that.
No.
You did it.
It's like the shrines in
yes.
either Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom. It's like, I know you didn't mean for me to do it that way, but that's the way I figured it out.
I found out the exact way that my hot air balloon that I use for everything could have a different fan on it and a different bit on it, so that I can get where I need to be. Fuck
now
you,
it
game.
works.
Yeah, exactly. This way works, so it is fine. Yeah,
I won't obviously be getting into specifics because it's just out at the time of recording. But there was one dungeon where like I really struggled through the whole of the dungeon, and I don't know. I'm not even gonna. Even if I could, well, I could, but even if I wanted to spoil it, it's too embarrassing. It's too embarrassing to say what I didn't get, because I went out of this dungeon after finishing it, and I'll be honest with you, at the end of it, it was a bit of a. Well, I'm bloody glad. I mean, there might be another treasure chest in there, but fuck that. I ain't going in there ever again. And then I found like a little side quest, which basically showed me a mechanic that I had not considered, and then I was like, oh, if I'd met you before going in here, that would have been so much easier, because that's what I was supposed to be doing here, wasn't it? And again, very embarrassing. But there's a lot of that. Like, there is a lot of it, and there is some of it that made me feel like, a bit like Tears of the Kingdom, where you feel like the genius, like, I solved this. Because I'm not being funny, bar a bit at the beginning of the game, it's pretty much, there you go. You can, whatever you picked up that you can echo, that something there will work.
Yeah.
You know, it might be something you learned 10 hours ago, but something will work, so experiment away. Because that's what I feel like this does. It takes the construction of Tears of the Kingdom, where you can, stick a bit of plank to a tree or whatever, whatever you want to do, but it turns all of that into blueprints that you can use. So it kind of replaces the creation with puzzles. I think that makes sense. So every thing you have to solve is based on a blueprint that an echo, and they're pretty good about it. Like, if you've missed an echo, there will be one nearby. So there are clues that you're like, well, why is that there? Oh, I can echo it. Oh, I missed him. I haven't echoed that enemy before. That's what it is. And so forth. It's quite long. Like, I didn't get an exact play count, but I know I played over 20 hours.
So longer than the 14 hours to beat Link's Awakening, then. It
is, and there were side quests I didn't do. I mean, there's a whole thing they showed. This is not a spoiler. They've showed that you can get a horse and ride around Hyrule, which I forgot you could do until about halfway through the game. Went off and did it because it's a side quest, and kind of never used it again because I just found it quite enjoyable, just sort of minting around the world and climbing up and exploring. The only sort of largely negative sides to it for me is that they've introduced the sort of side quests And there's a really cool moment. This is the only spoiler I'll give, and it's not story related in any way. But like, you will see a treasure chest stuffed into the sand or something in a dungeon. It's early on, and it's when you're taught by Try that you can use Try's powers to like push and pull stuff. So you attach to the chest and you pull it out of the sand, and then the trouble is, all of the side quests and objectives like that kind of, not all of, but most of, just kind of have rupees in them. So it's like every time you do one, it's like, oh, what colour is it? It'd be red or purple, and very occasionally the silver. I think it's 100, isn't it? But but they're kind of not all. There's a whole crafting thing in this, by the way, like in Tears of the Kingdom. Not quite as deep as that. There's basically a vendor that makes smoothies out of ingredients you find like apples, monster bits, and they does that same thing. Of it can buff certain abilities, like it can make you quicker or hold your breath underwater longer. So there's all that in there. So you do find those things as well, but they're really. It never feels like you solve this huge lengthy puzzle and you find something like when it's a heart piece, it is like, oh my god, that is now like, oh my god, because it's not 50 rupees.
Yeah. How useful are the rupees? Is it at least a game where you do spend a lot of rupees, or is it just sort of a number in the corner that you go, okay? Yeah.
I don't think the rupees are as useful in this because it's not a hugely difficult game because... So one of the first things you learn to echo, and I'm choosing my words a bit carefully because I don't want to spoil any cool surprises, but you do get a bed, as I said. That's one of the things they've shown. You can use the bed to make platforms, but you can also sleep in the bed. So you just lay in the bed and you'll heal. Really slowly, but let's just say you might later on find a less ropey-looking bed that you can also echo, and then you will heal 2 hearts every few seconds.
Less ropey-looking bed.
Yeah, like you start off with a dungeon.
I only have a ropey-looking bed, sorry. Slow healing.
But like, so you kind of only have to, like, as long as you clear an area, you can just stick a bed down and heal. So you can get potions, you can get jars with fairies in, you can do all the Zelda stuff that you would expect. And I did that. But like, if you've, say, got a few fairies in bottles, got a few potions, and you've got a decent bed that you can sleep in to heal, you're not invincible. Like, because the enemies hit super hard sometimes, like they do. The issue that I think, because I obviously I really liked it, gave it a 9 out of 10. I do think that even, like, Lyle, I know your feelings on Breath of the Wild, right? But I do think this might be the most divisive Zelda game when all is said and done, because the core mechanic is that you are summoning echoes that you have discovered, right? So to interact or fight an enemy, you summon an enemy you've beaten, which you can then echo. But you don't control the enemy other than you can lock on to an enemy and, like, say, attack that one, attack that one. They will never change their animations, if that makes sense. You summon them and they will, whether they wind up or whatever, that's what they're going to do. They're going to do that every time. Mm-hmm. That means you do sometimes find yourself sort of just spinning around, skirting around the battlefield, trying to stay away from trouble while they do their business. Mm. And that hands-off feel, I think, might make some people feel a bit... not stressed, but like a bit put off. Like that, there's loads of combat, by the way. Don't get me wrong. It's not like there's an enemy. Oh my god, I haven't seen an enemy. There's enemies everywhere all the time. There are boss fights galore, and there are ways you can directly interact combat-wise that Nintendo's shown in trailers, and I put a bit in our video review, and I won't talk about it because people might want to go in fresh. There are ways to do it, but by the end, even though I had stronger echoes and I could summon more of them, I was feeling a bit like it's just because of the length of so if it were 10 hours you would probably not find it an issue, but by the time you're 20 plus in and you're like, I just want to kill that, just hit it, mate. You feel like you're shouting at your enemy friends that you summon, like, just hit it, please hit it. And then because it's a boss, it will take a hit and it's like, oh, now you're dead, start again. I've got to summon you to get in, but now you've got to get just hit it. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's hard to describe when you haven't seen it, but it can be frustrating, and I think that will push some people away. But I really liked it. It's really unique and weird, and
Yeah, it looks from what I've seen of it, it looks weird, and that appeals to me more than sort of anything about the excitement of the other recent Zelda games. You know, like it looks like something that I want to at least try because it doesn't look like I was going to say like any other Zelda game, but really like any other game, like where you summon beds to make stairs and
yeah. I am intrigued to play it because, like, I hear some of the stuff you're saying, and I'm like, that sounds amazing. I hear some of the other stuff, and I'm like, I don't know how I feel about
exactly that.
And like, you know, I look at it and go, am I just going to feel like this is like some of the aspects of it are like a lesser than like a Tears of the Kingdom because it's coming straight off the back of that and it's using that kind of creative mechanic from it as well. So I'll be really interested to see how I feel about it when I play it.
I will say what you've said there. That I personally didn't feel that once. I felt like it's Tears of a Kingdom adjacent. Like it never felt to me like they'd taken away, if that makes sense. Like it never felt lesser. So I will say that. I can't speak for you as well.
No.
But
no.
I really liked it. But like it just. Okay, would it be really interesting? Like every time they release a Zelda, I feel like I say, "What the hell will they do next?" And yet they somehow do something different again. And like, what the hell is next? I mean,
yeah.
Well, on that note, what is next is we can talk about another Nintendo game, can't we?
Yeah, we can.
Just the one?
Well, take it away, Lyle. What are we talking about?
Oh shit! What's the full name?
Nintendo Nintendo World Championships NES Edition.
Yeah, that game is what we can talk about. So this is one of the ones that got away while we were a bit absent, and it's basically lots of old Nintendo games, but you have to do like very small challenges in them as fast as possible. And now, when I mean like small challenge, it's like this is like it's 4 seconds long, and it's get the first mushroom in Super Mario Brothers, the first Mario game. Exactly but then in terms of doing that, you think, well, that's really easy. What the hell? Like, that's totally fine. And then you get it and you grab it and you're like, oh, there's a target time and I'm supposed to have shaved a second off what I just did. And you think, holy shit, how am I supposed to do that? And it's like, well, you have to realize that if you jump at this exact angle over the first enemy and then go around the right side to get the mushroom with the right, like, precise level of jump, you'll touch that mushroom just fast enough that you'll
micro speed running, isn't it? It's like
micro speed running. It's like it's like you're being taught how to speed run. It does actually, as a game, it makes you more impressed with speed running when you see it, because you think like if you're a speedrunner and doing a full game, you're basically doing this but like 1,000 times, you know, in a row, and trying to make sure every single one of them's perfect. But there's like a nice selection of NES games that are that you can play different challenges from. So there's like all the Marios as you'd expect, but you've got Kirby, you've got both.
Please don't mention the Kirby ones.
Yeah, this Kirby ones are quite brutal sometimes. You've got Metroid, and what else? You've got Excite Bike,
Ice Climbers, Donkey Kong.
Yeah. So,
well,
you know, like
when you say Mario, it's Mario 1, 2, 3.
Yes, Lost Levels.
Lost Levels is the I couldn't think of that.
Yeah. So it's like all the NES games that you have played a lot of times in different forms or bundles or as part of Switch Online or anything like that. They're all the very, very familiar titles that most people will have at least dipped their toe into a few times, if not played loads of. But it's just these tiny little challenges in them that, and I say tiny, but like by the end of the game, some of them are not tiny. Like, one of them is complete Super Mario Brothers 1, and it's like, oh, I've got to do that full game, and you've got a time limit, but it's like, if you have been paying attention to your previous challenges and you like read, there's like hints of some sort, I think, or like a sort of like
super tips or something they call it.
Super tips, something like that. And they'll give you like the sort of exact way to do it, so that in playing it, you know, you're going exactly to the first like warp room and doing everything exactly how you need to get the best time possible. And like,
you should say that doesn't always make it. I'm just thinking of the Lost Levels final super challenge. Have you
I don't think I did that much. I played a lot of them, but I don't think I went like
that one's a beast.
Everything.
I mean, I remember the Lost Levels being.
It was fucking brutal.
Yeah, this one's
from Super
like...
Mario All Stars. That was a bit of a bitch.
But basically, if you miss, there's a certain Koopa Trooper that if you miss it, you're done. Like the challenge is over because you need that Koopa to hit, I think, the next platform to jump off of it.
Yeah.
You can, it will rewind you, but you sometimes have to just keep playing the level. And it's like because that's the whole games aren't in there, are they? Well, some are because of the challenges, but they're not like they're playable as.
No, you're not. That's not. I mean, they are all playable if you have Switch Online, and this is a multiplayer game that you might want to play on Switch Online anyway. So you kind of. If you're playing this game, probably sort of weirdly have access to the full games if you did want to play them. But like, it's
don't talk sense. I was interested because you mentioned about like the sort of pixel perfect stuff. Did you have, or can you recall, the first one that got you where you're like, no? Because I know exactly which mine was. Where I'm like, I am S ranking this, and I am not moving.
Same. I have mine. And it's stupid. The first one of these for me was in Super Mario Brothers 2, where you fall out the sky and have to go in a door. And that's all
on the first level.
Yeah, that's the first one.
Yeah. And so you basically just have to miss everything, and
you
then
have to get perfect. Yeah,
I know exactly the fall you're talking about.
And it was like 20 attempts in, and I was like, I'm going in this door so fucking quickly. How is this not working?
Mine was Metroid, getting the power up. Because you run left, and I swear I can't remember. There's like I think it gets you in your head because you're like, if I jump where the ceiling's just above me, a bit like, do you remember the old Turtles and Ninja Turtles game on NES where like everyone tried to jump but you just had to run across the gap? It's a bit like that you start off and you run left, but in my head I think if I jump it's just that bit quicker and it makes me go quicker. And I was like, I can get the S. And then you do that, you nail the jump, because it's like the Mario style stairs where you have to nail the timing of the jump. But then I kept overshooting the actual fall to the power up. And it's, for God's sake.
Yeah.
It does
anything with stairs is a nightmare when you're trying to get those S ranks. And I mean, realistically, you don't have to get the S ranks, and getting A ranks or whatever is like ridiculously easy. Like there might as well not be other letters. It's just that if you close to that anyway, especially with a lot of the challenges. I'm not saying
not aligned to Adam's experience.
Yeah,
there was. Yeah, I had difficulty with one. Yeah, moving on.
Yeah, but it's just like it's a really cool way to experience these games and sort of like play these weird micro bits of it. It gives you this odd satisfaction of just perfecting these tiny little moments in these games that are so well known. And then alongside that as well, you've got like the multiplayer modes, which are really cool and really fucking weird as well. So like it's like you'll sort of load up and there's like cycling like every day or something, different challenges where there'll be like a set of like 4 or 8 of them, and you'll play against other people online who are also, although it's realistically, I think it's just their like ghosts essentially.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
But you're playing against other people's times in these challenges, and they'll happen one at a time. And if you're in like the bottom 2 of the people doing it, then you'll like be eliminated and you won't win.
Some of them are harsh as well, by the way.
Oh yeah,
like you can get eliminated pretty easily. Like so,
yeah.
It's kind of like, excuse me, I was born when these games exist. That's it. That's another thing I'd say is it does shine a light because these are the original games. Like,
yes,
some of them it shines a bit of a light on. Like think about Ice Climber. Like
yeah,
there are some games. Video game, mate.
Yeah, 100%. It's like I don't want to be reminded of Ice Climber anymore. We're past the
what's
time.
The balloon one?
Balloon fight.
Balloon fight. Yeah. Well, that's not so bad, but like, also I don't remember Donkey Kong controlling so shit. Like, it's Donkey Kong, man.
Yeah, no, I mean, if you don't like old games, you're not gonna like this. Like, you know, like this isn't a thing where it's like, oh no, give it a try. Maybe you'll like it. Like, you won't like it. You definitely won't. Like, you have to be someone who is into that sort of thing. But you know,
yeah, but just to mess up the entire order of the podcast, but like we've got a question later asking about a SNES edition. I'd be all over that because that's when I started gaming. So that's like if there was like, you know,
yeah, my
SNES,
console was again.
I'd be all over that. But like, yeah, NES to me just feels a little bit.
I mean, I'd be all over a Super Mario World version.
Yeah, this is what I mean. Like Super
doesn't
Mario
even need
World,
to be the rest
Mario
of the
Kart,
SNES.
Link to the Past,
shit.
Yoshi's
Metroid,
Island.
all of that.
Zelda.
I'd be like,
how did we forget that? Zelda's on the list. There's like Legend of Zelda 1 and 2 are in there.
Yeah.
Some of them are bloody like the pixel perfect nature. It's like
Yeah.
some of them are like start in this room and kill 3 enemies. Like, how can I be doing this badly?
Yeah.
Oh.
So yeah, I just imagine I'd be all over that. Like,
It gets in your head. It does get in your head a little bit. You're like, I can't. I could accept because it doesn't go A star S or something like that, or A plus.
I think so, or A plus S. Or something.
And it would get in my head. I could cope without an S, but I can't.
I'd get irritated just on the mushroom in 1-1. That would be the one straight away that would fucking irritate me.
I'm just
getting a mushroom
than you think. By the way,
like that. Seriously, that's where you go. Oh shit, this isn't. It's not playing around this game.
No. Yeah. You're like, I'll pass that, and you get a B. And you're like,
that.
I refused to go on any time I didn't have an S. So
really? I couldn't because I was playing it like at the time for review, and it's like I think Sean ended up reviewing it for us, but I was I was like, I can't. I just was gonna have a quick half an hour, and I've done one thing because I refused to move on.
Yeah. But like, if time's not an issue for you, then and that's something that you'd enjoy bashing your head against. Because like, I had fun whenever I was doing that. I think the fact I wasn't reviewing this game probably helped quite a lot. Yeah,
I feel like it's literally the quintessential sort of like pick up and play thing.
Oh, it really is.
For like half hour and just
I do love a lot of the multiplayer stuff. Like, I love that you play on the same screen and it reduces down in size if there's less of you, sort of. So it can be like 16 people on a screen, but if it's 3, it's a bigger screen for each of you. It's all going on at the same time. And I do love the sort of local competitive nature of it. It can create some funny sort of Mario Party style moments. I think it's
really cool. A really good love letter to old games that you would not really be playing otherwise.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of games that you would not be playing otherwise, Chris Hyde, Shapez 2. Yeah.
So, this is another one where we covered this during the hiatus. And even now, right, I've played the original, I've played this sequel. Every time I see that game name, I think it says Shapez. And I know it's Shapes. I know it's Shapes, and it's gangster with a Z.
Oh, I thought you were going the perfume advert route, like Shapez.
Well, it could be that as well, like just Shapez de parfum. But like it just every time I see it, like it's like I'm playing Shapez 2, and it's like it's videogamies all over again, isn't it?
Yeah, no, words.
So yeah, Shapez 2. I mean, this is a fucking Chris Hyde game. Yeah. This is like, if you're like, let's just bullet point out some some things that Chris Hyde likes. It's maths, efficiency, geometry, and conveyor belts. So here we go. Strap in for some Shapez 2. So, I mean, fundamentally, all this game is conveying shapes into a vortex in the middle of the world. That is literally the net goal of what you're trying to do.
Okay.
Right? So like there's these sort of nodes of shapes that you kind of extract from. You extract the shapes from these nodes and then you convey them to the vortex. Jobs are fucking good. And so you start the game, you go on you have to get your little, I don't forget what it's something license. Shapez license or something. I forget what it's called. To kind of learn the basics, right? And then you kind of get taught how to, get some circles and put them into the vortex. You're like, this is a piece of fucking piss. Now I've played Shapez 1, so I know that's not where it finishes. But like what it then does is each of your shapes. Shapez, I need to stop doing that. Each of your shapes can be cut into quarters. Right, so whether it's and there's only a few shapes in the entire game, really. There's like a circle, a square, a like pointed star thing, and a sort of weird curved square thing. But like they can all be cut into quarters, and what you have to do is like replace sections with different shapes to make amalgamations of new shapes. So like you might have 1/4 as a square, 1/4 as a circle, 1/4 as a
fill
point.
in the Trivial Pursuit cheese wheel pie.
Yeah, but like if the Trivial Pursuit cheese wheel was made up of different shapes, and that's like level 1 of the license, right? Because then it goes, oh well, you can actually stack different shapes on top of each other to make layered shapes. So then
you ruined it. All I can hear is now, why isn't he saying Shapez?
Shapez, I do apologise for that.
Now
obviously, from now on,
shapes.
Because I'm a professional, I will say shapes, but in my heart, I mean Shapez.
Why is it? I mean, I don't want to interrupt your flow because I'd never do that. But
no, definitely. I'm surprised you got this far.
Why has it got a Z?
It's gangster, isn't it?
But this is the least gangster game that has ever existed, though, isn't
50 Cent Blood on the Shapez. Like, this is.
I don't know. Maybe
because it's lowercase s as well, technically, isn't it? Like it's lowercase s, which is
I think it
really
is actually,
annoying from a editorial point of view. But it's Shapez 2. What? Okay, you don't know. There is no in-game.
No law to say.
I'd hate to say it, but I am sort of asking that.
It's not like Dark Souls, where in between levels there's like lore text where it's sort of like tells you about like why
danger ahead, Shapez.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Senor Shapez created the vortex, 500 years ago, to
it just is what
counteract the demigods of geometry, and now those demigods must be fed the Shapez of. I'm making this shit up. Anyway, no.
So basically, hire you to write for Shapez 3.
Yeah, exactly. So the basically you know how like Satisfactory is essentially just the checklist of things that you need to ship into the space elevator is just gets more complicated. It's essentially that, right? So you just you have to add extra layers to your shapes. You have to start adding different colors to your shapes. You might have to mix different colors together because you start off with red, blue, and green. Now you might have to make cyan, yellow, and magenta, or white, or whatever, and to different parts of the quarters and different layers. And everything has to happen in a certain order, or you don't end up with the exact shape you need to put into the vortex. And so you have to make all of the machines, and all these conveyor belts start coming out like fucking spaghetti junction, because there's like, you have to try and work it all around. You've got like paint pipes trying to pump paint everywhere. And it's a lovely, like, I loved it because it's like, well, it's fucking my game, but also it's like, it's one of those where there isn't like there is one set solution in the sense of you must make the shape kind of like this to stack it up to get there. But in terms of how you want to set up, I guess, your little shape factories to make it and how you want to get it into the vortex, that's all up to you. So you kind of expand around the central vortex and kind of add more space in to give you some space to create all your little factories. And how efficiently you want to do that is up to you. And you start getting to a point where you're like, the first one where you just got to put circles in, it only asks for 10 circles, and that takes about a few seconds to get in. Later on in our lives, just do me 10,000 of this, 5-layered colored shape, and you're like, right, okay, I can't fuck about here. I need to really work out what it needs. But it just becomes one of those games that is just so addictive to just keep going. Because it's just like, I'll just do one more shape. I'll just do one more shape. I just get that. Oh, now I've got this harder one. Well, it's a little bit harder than the one I've done before. And it does this thing where it kind of will ask for like, I don't know, 5,000 of this one shape. And then the next one it'll ask for will be, I don't know, 5,000 of another shape that's like a build on that shape it's already asked for, not just a completely new random one. So it's even kind of getting you to kind of add to what you've already done. It's not like, right, just raise the whole thing and start again. It's like, it asks you to kind of think about it and, develop what you're doing. So I just got sucked in when I played this game. I loved it. It's definitely a game for a certain type of weirdo like me. Like, this is not going to appeal to Adam Cook, I don't think. It's just it's just
it needs a subtitle for me, like Shapes 2, more shapier or something. Although it's just occurred to me that, do you know the reason?
Did you know that Passion of the Christ is getting a sequel?
Yeah. Do you know? It's just occurred to me probably why this has got a Z in it. I bet it's a copyright thing. I might
could be. I bet there's a game called Shapes with an S.
You can't copyright Shapes with an S.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what it is. Yeah.
But yeah.
Like I say, that or Gangster, I don't know. But
it's definitely not that. And then I'm sure it's not that.
Yeah, and there's cool things in here. Like, I mean, cool in inverted commas.
Steady on now, mate.
Yeah, I was going to say, as soon as I said it, I was like, right, let's clarify this. No, but there's like, normally it's just all conveyors, but you can do like bigger, faster conveyors. There's even trains in it as well, where you can proper zip in.
I'm still a little concerned that the cool.
That's why I said cool in inverted commas.
Right.
Like,
okay.
Cool as Satisfactory gets when we go, right, we've now got trains.
That's not dissatisfactory in any way.
I'm just saying it's a certain type of cool. Like, it doesn't suddenly become be you know blood, guts and tits, right?
But I love Satisfactory. There's no occasion where I would describe it as cool. I don't think. I couldn't call it cool. I just couldn't even say a certain type of cool. Okay, no, fine. We're
yeah. And we think you're cool.
I was going to say the coolest of everyone.
That's probably like, yeah, it's like my mum says I'm cool, like kind of thing.
Yeah.
God. But like,
what's cooler than cool?
Ice
Shapes 2.
Yeah, Shapes 2. Oh no, I feel bad now because it seems like a really good game, and
I bet it's really good. Like,
and we just
like I say, it's a really good. Like, if people played Shapes, the original game, then this is kind of, they've just built on it. It looks lovely. I will say it actually looks really, really nice. Because the original was very basic. It was like monochrome and kind of 2D top down, whereas this is like fully rotating 3D. Looks lovely. It's got a lovely little soundtrack to while away the conveying. So, in terms of what it is and what I wanted from it, it gave me everything I wanted, but I knew what it was and what it wasn't. Like, it's just one of those really sort of like Zen kind of factory type games. And if they're the types of things that you like, it's a really good example of that. And then, like, there's so much content in it. Like, you do your first license, then throw in harder ones, and then go towards the end, and there's like, oh, if you thought splitting Shapes into 4 was hard, split them into 6. It's like, holy Jesus Christ. And then all of the things you've learned for the last 40 hours just go out the window because now everything's split into fucking hexagons type shapes. And you can like customize, you can like set up your own like challenges and things to like and customize everything. So there's so much you can do in there for content within the game. So if it's your bag, there's a lot to enjoy in that game, and I'd highly recommend it if you're thinking about it, because you like factory type games. If you're a conveyor nerd like me, you will love this. If you're not, it ain't going to be the game to convince you. Like, if you don't like those types of games, don't like Satisfactory, don't like Factorio, you don't like those types of things, it ain't the one to change hearts and minds. But I did want to give it its due, because I think I give it a 9 out of 10 on the site. Like, maybe, yeah, but in my heart, yeah,
it's a 9 in your heart.
9 in my heart. It's a cool 9.
Cool 9
in my heart.
And on that note, shall I?
Shapez 2 serious.
Cool.
2 Shapez 2 cool.
Shall I play the jingle?
Yeah. Chris Hyde. Listen to Correspondence. It's time. It's time. Chris Hyde. I'm not ready. Right, okay. Right, professionalism at all times, Shapez. Mick sent in some questions. Okay,
we can do this. We can just like
straight on it. Right,
like a cool train.
Mick says, if someone hasn't played the Link's Awakening remake yet, would you? This is Adam, I guess. Would you tell them to play that first, or go directly to Echoes? So, Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom.
I mean, I don't.
They're
seems
separate,
like a
right? It
weird
doesn't.
question.
I mean, they're the same art style, and so I suppose
Yeah.
I don't. I'm not going to get into Zelda lore, like the timelines and
No, that's a mangled mess as it is.
That's not for me. Like,
That's like a badly designed shapes factory. Let me
yeah,
tell
that's
you.
a very inefficient conveying system. That is.
they're really different games.
Yeah,
Really different. Do you want a traditional Zelda, which is a remake of one of the best top-down Zeldas, or do you want a really cool, unique puzzle game which has Zelda stuff in it? Like, I don't think I can answer. I would say play both. They're both great. But the idea of going directly to Echoes is like, well, they're not. I don't really see them as sequels.
My answer, having not played Echoes, would be play Echoes, because if you've not played Link's Awakening, when Link's Awakening has been out from the Game Boy since flipping 1994 or whatever it is, you probably don't give a shit about it. So I'd probably say Echoes.
Yeah, fair. We'll go with that.
Seems sensible.
Yeah.
Do you like Link's Awakening remake more than DX? Is the DX one on the? Was it GBA? When was DX?
Color?
DX was when it changed to Game Boy Color because it
was it Game Boy Color? I was gonna go with Game Boy Color, and I didn't know if that was the right one. I mean, I only played original Game Boy and the remake, so I can't answer this specifically.
Don't think I do, because Link's Awakening. Well, DX. He's not saying the original.
No.
But it is kind of the original, but color, isn't it?
Yeah, it kind of is. Yeah.
Yeah, and with like
that
one
original
extra bit.
Brilliant. One of my favorite Zeldas.
It's really good.
Yeah, it's really good.
That seems an unfair question. One's a remake of it, and it's a faithful remake of it. So...
Yeah, it's very faithful. I think.
I'm not answering. No.
I mean, if I do, I like it a smidge more. Like, it's not like night and day, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I'll go with that.
Yeah. How does it feel to have played a new Zelda game with proper music after that piano nonsense in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom?
Such a Mick question.
That's not a question, though, is it? He's not asking a question. There.
Just
he's asking how does it feel,
smarmy aloud.
But it's not I don't agree with it, so I can't say it feels anything because I didn't feel that way about Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom.
I know that.
It's a way for him to get on the pod and say he didn't like the music of the previous Zelda.
And let's not talk about that, because then someone else is going to chirp.
There's a whole podcast on patreon.com/GodIsAGeek of that, so go there.
There is.
Yeah.
Okie doke. He then says, I remember joking about Nintendo World Championships being a scam game pre-release, but I've since played it and love it, bought the Japanese collector's edition for it. Do you think they would do DLC or give us a SNES edition in 2025? This is what I mentioned earlier about the SNES edition. I'd be all fucking over a SNES edition, to be honest.
Yeah. I really would love them to.
Yeah. I don't think they will, but...
I do. It won't be DLC, but I think they will do it, won't they?
I hope. Honestly, I would fucking love it if it was like.
Well, they did with NES Remix, didn't they? Didn't they do?
I didn't think they did.
Maybe they didn't.
I think they usually just. I think they almost always just do NES things, and then don't suddenly go to SNES when everyone would enjoy it more.
Yeah, no, you're right. There is no SNES Remix. It's NES Ultimate NES Remix, NES Remix 2. That's right.
Yeah.
Huh.
So yeah, I think the answer is no, but I think it'd be great if they did. I also wouldn't be like massively surprised if they did either, though. I'd be like, "That's awesome, great."
Yeah,
but I think it's less likely than
jump
not.
straight to the GameCube version, just despite
it. Oh yeah,
it's just
straight
going down that. It's just one game with all different things of going down against that penguin down the ice on the ice race. That's it. That's the whole game. It's just that.
But then that's on Nintendo 64. Why are we on the GameCube for that?
Because I'm old.
I wasn't going to correct him.
No, I mean, you both. I knew that I was wrong because both of you were looking like, he's gone again, lads. He's gone. And I'm looking at you going, no, I don't think I've said anything wrong. Oh, yeah, sorry. I meant that. That's what I meant.
That's fine. That would be a good thing for one of these games, to be fair.
No, they won't, I will say they won't do it as DLC. I'd be shocked if they would. But there's a chance that people would buy it. And also, it's probably one they've already made. And it's the fabled Nintendo have got it ready for when their stocks go down. They're like, hey,
yeah.
I don't know.
Okay. Thoughts on Space Marine 2's cosmetic DLC? I haven't seen this.
Me neither.
No, I haven't either. Sorry.
We have no thoughts.
Is it just different factions of Space Marine paint, or is
Probably.
it something better? I guess if you haven't seen it, you don't know.
Yeah,
We
we
really
don't know.
We have no thoughts because we're
No.
so professional and clued up on all DLC that exists.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Speaking of, well, no, this is actually a question which we can answer. Anyone playing the Mortal Kombat 1 Chaos Reigns DLC? I'm not.
No, same here.
Same here. But Chris White is. Chris White is. He's reviewing it.
Oh,
I thought about it, but I'm like, I can't. Too much.
Too
on.
busy playing Redacted.
So, yeah, basically that.
Same.
No, but that's not to say that I won't, because their last one they did when they added like a big expansion was excellent for whatever the last Mortal Kombat was. So this hopefully will be excellent too. So no, but yes, Chris White is.
Okay. He then says Costco Nespresso pods are ace. By the way, just letting you know.
Lovely.
Okay.
I mean, it doesn't affect me. I've been to Cup, so I don't have Nespresso.
Oh, you tell him.
I'm not a pauper.
I have a Tassimo, so that's my thing.
Do you? Do you have Tassimo?
I do.
And I can't remember the name of the one we have, so
I genuinely thought you had an espresso one.
I might have. I just can't remember.
You might know better than him.
You have an espresso.
I mean, I can go.
You
and look,
do.
it just won't be much of an interesting part of the podcast. Like I can't remember. Sorry.
No, stick around for this question. What is your favorite soundtrack of 2024? Not audio, just soundtrack. So tell that I'm not trying to get Game of the Year pod info early.
Who's is that? You? He's referring.
I mean, it could be any of us, but normally it's me and you that moan about him trying to get it the most. But it could be any of us.
Soundtrack.
There's been a lot of good ones.
I don't know.
I'm going to give a shout out to a game I literally just played, which has a banging soundtrack, and that is Bloomtown, A Different Story, which is basically, you'll get to hear more about this on a Patreon podcast at some point in the future, probably.
Let's say hopefully.
It's a smaller game. Hopefully, yeah, okay. Probably is way too.
Let's not overcommit.
Yeah, possibly, maybe even possibly.
Definitely, maybe.
But it's it's pretty much, if you're boiling it down, it's like pixel art modern Persona game, but it has that level of awesome soundtrack. It has 5 battle themes that it just cycles between for no reason, that all have lyrics and are all bangers. And there was no need for it to do that. No, I don't think I've ever played an RPG that has had 5 battle themes, especially that are not just like they change for a reason. Like this is literally just, it has 5 and it'll go through all 5 of them, and you'll just, whichever one it lands on, you'll hear, and they're all amazing. So that can have it for today, because that's an interesting.
I have got 2, but I want to let Chris Hyde go because one of them he may have, and so I'll use the other one.
My one is probably Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. To be honest with you.
That would be mine in truth, but
it might end up being mine when I play it.
Yeah, it might be if you ever play it. Like I've not played the original, so obviously I was hearing some of these remade songs. Like I think when we spoke about it, I was like, were these songs actually in the original? And you were like, yeah. I was like, they were bangers back then because they sound amazing now.
They absolutely were.
Yeah. So that game's got great music. So yeah, that would be it. That's the one that jumps out straight to me.
For me, it would be that, but because you picked that, I'll pick Astrobot.
Oh yeah, that's a nice one. That's
just
some
got great weird songs in it, and I just
it does.
I love it. I just love it. Love it.
So Persona 3 Reload could have easily fit this bill
that was
too.
In the sort of I see he is getting info because I have to look at my list a little bit to remind myself of the biggies, but no, we'll leave it there.
Yeah,
let's not give any more fuel to the end.
That's
of the
enough. Cheeky.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if try and not get us on a technicality next week to get more information off us. Okay, and then the last question this week is about 10 pages long from Pooh, so strap in. Which Dead by Daylight killer could Lyle outfox in a game of Dead by Daylight? There is more to this question.
There is more to this.
Assume it's a map of his choice. No perks are on either team. Lyle has 3 AI dummies on his team, and they can do what he wants within the confines of the map, but can't leave unless going through one of the proper routes. He has a gun with 1 bullet, a knife that can be used 3 times, and a pack of those little banger things. Now, I understood all those words.
Yes, correct.
But, like, I mean, Frank Stone? I don't fucking know.
No, he's not in the game.
No, I don't
But
know any of the options.
I'm going to say that I could outfox, given these this list of, you know, requirements, that I could outfox and escape every single one of them. And the reason behind this is that the AI in Dead by Daylight are surprisingly good and are very good at distracting people from, you know, the real killer that's in this situation. And if you play Dead by Daylight incredibly selfishly and don't care about your team, it's generally fairly easy to escape if you just sacrifice them. And if they're all AI, they're not going to really do much of that. They're going to try and help more. So as long as I throw them all under the bus, it's fine. I don't know what I'm doing with this gun. I've never really thought about having a gun while in Dead by Daylight, but like,
You got 1 bullet.
couldn't fucking hurt.
Yeah.
I don't want to kill myself. Stop telling me that. Stop DMing me that.
Yeah, you're always saying that. You're always saying that to him. I have some questions I have to ask Lyle for me for giving you. So, most important question for me, anyway, is Lyle, in Dead by Daylight, are there any elevators?
Are there any what? Sorry, elevators.
Are there any wild pigs?
Yeah.
I have never seen either of wild pig or elevators in Dead by Daylight. No.
Secondary question. So I just need to read this again. Actually, he says, "Which Dead by Daylight killer?"
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, there's lots of cameos in Dead by Daylight, and I think you could probably outfox Albert Wesker.
That's nice of you to say. Yeah.
Well, I mean, not being funny. You've played the Resi games. I mean, he's.
Can you punch rock though, Lyle?
I can't
he's
punch rock,
isn't he? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And the other one is. And this might be cheating a little. I mean, there is one called The Pig, which is interesting.
That's from
Amanda
Saw.
Young. Oh, is it? Oh, okay.
Oh, that character. The like.
Yeah.
But the one I'm thinking of is Jason. Not Jason, sorry, Freddy Krueger. Because he only comes to you in your dreams, right?
He does, but you sort of fall asleep while you're playing. It's a weird system.
Yeah, but
You just like what?
Like basically, there's a timer, and then you're supposed to be sort of dreaming as you're doing everything when that timer runs out.
Do you know what? Genuinely, just for a second, I wouldn't have expected that. That's kind of cool. That's not the level you would.
Clever.
I just assume. So are all the guest characters got that kind of?
Oh yeah, they're all
really?
very, like. If you're the alien, there is an entire sub-level in every stage where you burrow down and crawl around vents to then pop up and shit like that. Yeah.
Just to be clear, you're not. You said all of them. You aren't beating. You're not outfoxing an alien, mate.
No,
I'm escaping the alien. I'm not. In Dead by Daylight, we're set in the Dead by Daylight world, and the alien, it doesn't have that much going for it in Dead by Daylight.
But let's also be clear. He said the 3 AI dummies. That is clearly a reference to the podcasts prior when there were 4 of us on here, you, myself, Chris, and Chris, isn't it? That is clearly, we are the AI dummies, aren't we? Let's be clear.
I'd much prefer this whole situation if we're saying that you 3 are also trapped.
That's how I read it.
Yeah.
No, but we're dummies.
Yeah.
If you think I'm doing anything to support your escape in here, then that is not. Then you are very
No, but I'll know the maps. We'll be in these maps, and I'll be like, well, I know where we need to go. I'll just let you guys get fucked over. I'll look for the hatch and be all right.
You do strike me as a man who's quite lithe. I reckon you could get through the nooks and crannies and sneak through, and the man of my size is just stood there looking at the gap going, I haven't been spelunking since I was 15. I ain't getting through that gap, Lyle. And you're like, oh sorry, he's already gone. Just like
just point out, I've never been spelunking.
Okay, I have. Gorge walking? Do you ever go gorge walking?
No, I'm aware of what it is. I just haven't been there.
Abseiling?
I've never done abseiling.
It's great.
No.
I mean, not now. I mean, Jesus Christ, the size of me now, no chance. But it's great fun. Is that in Dead by Daylight? Or?
There's not any abseiling in Dead by Daylight.
That's why I'm so fascinated by lifts, because of the abseiling, the ropes, and
yeah. Most Dead by Daylight maps don't have 2 floors, but if they do have 2 floors, the way you'll go between will either be stairs or you'll just sort of drop through a hole.
Tremendously disappointing to hear that.
So
I have to be honest. I'm a big fan of lifts.
But while you're like, I don't know, pumping the generator or whatever it is you have to do to get out,
Yeah.
couldn't I just stab you in the neck?
Do you have a knife as well?
Doesn't
We
say
all have
any
to have
knife.
I feel like I could. Can you not find stuff like that in the map?
No, you can find like torches. You could hit me with a torch.
I'd fight you with a torch then while you're trying to do your quick time event.
What you say? There's no traditional
Just
lifts.
little
Are there any
circles.
paternoster lifts?
There are not. No, sorry, I didn't.
What's that,
I
sorry?
didn't.
Paternoster lifts, like that's more in keeping with the game, isn't it? A bit more.
Yeah.
'Cause if
I don't
I
actually know what that is. I just know that it's
Okay,
not
it's
in
the ones
game.
where basically they're constantly going round like that, and you get on them and they go up and then round. And I always think about like again lifts. I always think, do you have to duck if you get to the top floor? They're safer now, but apparently in the old days, if you went up all up a paternoster lift, you could get crushed if you're not careful because all the mechanism. It's like going over on a swing, but with a.
Oh,
You don't know what a paternoster lift is, do you, Chris?
Is that like the thing in Blighttown?
Yes.
Okay, then yes, I do.
Yes, it is. It's a lift you stand on and it goes up all the way round and
Yeah,
it's constantly moving.
Yeah.
They do
never
still
said
exist.
video games didn't teach you something.
No, imagine that if there's a bit of lore in Dark Souls that explains the paternoster lifts. I want to thank McPoo because he's taken the criticism of his previous question on board and
No, he
delivered
hasn't.
Yeah.
This is
banger.
dog shit. Like, I don't know. I can't contribute to this.
I mean, the issue is that only I have played enough Dead by Daylight
Yeah.
to really know what's going on here, and I've just said yes because I want to look cool. You know,
Yeah, but
Yeah,
I
yeah,
just
yeah.
don't
Cool as
think
Shapes
it's
too.
true.
I think like I say, the brief should be for the next time, so he can improve himself. Should
Yeah.
be something against Lyle that is better than 10-year-olds, but weaker than 3, whatever it was, feral
Wild
pigs,
hogs.
whatever.
Just
Wild
to be
hogs,
clear,
yeah.
you do realise, like 3 or 4 episodes down, the end game of this route of questioning is you versus Lyle, right? You get that. That's where this is going. I saw this weeks ago. That's where this
That's
is
okay.
going.
We can talk
Okay, no, I
about
just want to make
that.
sure
I'm
you
quite
know what you're
spoiled
asking
it.
for.
So that, but by extension, that means that you also think that I could beat up 10-year-olds, but wouldn't survive against 3.
I think so. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
where
okay.
I'd place you too.
I mean, I don't know without knowing how many lifts there are. I can't. I can't get involved
Sorry,
with
yeah,
this.
well-
Sorry. Unless there's a paternoster or some sort of pulley system, I'll accept a seesaw if must. Like you're on the end of seesaws dueling, and it's who can shoot each other.
If me and Lyle are on a seesaw, it ain't
that's
moving.
great. I'm just imagining the
That'd be
two of you
great,
with
though.
like guns doing like a what they call it, a Mexican standoff. But
Yeah.
you're on a seesaw trying to shoot each other as it goes
Well, no,
up and
that's
down,
my point.
panicking.
If me and Lyle are on a seesaw, he's just floating in the air up there.
I
I'm
don't
a,
see you
I'm
jump
a
around
clear
seesaw.
shot for you. I'm all disoriented up
All right,
there.
fine.
Yeah.
It's one of them seesaws where you can adjust the seat to make differences to weight balances so you're equal.
Is that a thing?
I don't know.
Like at a
It
play
is
park
now.
I'm
where they just
gonna.
put
It's gonna
some
be up to
bags
those
of
ones
sand
where
on
like
this end.
Lyle's gonna have to like have the longest lever of the seesaw.
That's what I'm getting
to
at. So
lift
it's
me.
based physics, isn't it?
Yeah. He'd sit further out than I would. Yeah,
And I'm just going up and down in a glass lift watching.
yeah.
Okay.
Like
Well-
Willy Wonka.
Well, that's flying. I'd have a flying. Oh, a flying lift.
Fucking hell.
I'm playing the jingle. I'm sorry.
Chris Hyde. Listen to Correspondence. It's time. It's time. Chris Hyde.
And that's the end of this week's podcast. If you did enjoy it, you can go to patreon.com/GodIsAGeek, where you'll find an exclusive podcast called The Smaller Games Funtime Chat, where we talk about, to be honest with you, games more like Shapes, Shapez. We talk about games like that quite often, like the smaller games that we would otherwise not have time to talk about on the podcast. But you will also, if you go to youtube.com/GodIsAGeek, you find a video version of this podcast, and you can subscribe there and watch our video reviews and all that sort of stuff. It just remains to say thanks to Lyle and Chris for being here this episode.
It's
been
been
fun,
a great
innit?
one. Yeah.
4 on the trot.
Loads of lifts and that.
4 on the trots.
And that was listener correspondence, me. I don't really like lifts when I'm the normal podcast man.
Okay.
That is that. Thank you for watching or listening to this podcast, and we'll speak to you next time or whenever you choose to listen. Bye-bye for now.